I have something called a Gamewell key. It's in my shadow box. And it was a solid brass key and kind of looked funky. But all around the city, they had these blue boxes, and it was a Gamewell. And the Gamewell would have a fist with two lightning bolts coming out in different directions. And what that was a holdover from the early 1900s, maybe 1890s, I'm not sure. But policemen didn't have phones. They didn't have communication in the car. So you'd drive around and you'd come up to a Gamewell box, you'd open it up with your Gamewell key, take out the phone, call down to the station, hey, are there any calls I'm supposed to go on? Am I supposed to go somewhere? And they'd give you the call, you'd hang up the phone, close the box, get back in your car, go to the call. Now, the interesting thing is that in some of the, and you might see one or two of these if you look around, but some of the very fancy houses like in Hancock Park, if you look up at the chimney, you'll see a long bar coming up, it's curved over, and there's a red light bulb on the end. I don't know if any of these exist anymore. But back then, my understanding was if you wanted a policeman on the beat, you'd flip on the light, the red light bulb was on, and the policeman walking down the street would see the red light bulb, and he'd come over and talk to you. He'd come to your house. This is how far we've come back then. Well, now you have MDTs, you have all these fancy rifles, and you've got shotguns, and you've got all kinds of different stuff that we simply didn't have back here. But here's the dilemma, and this is kind of a funny story. Apparently, according to legend, the LAPD decided that they're going to do away with the Gamewells. Now, at the time they were going to do away with the Gamewells, I believe I was right in the tail end of Wilshire Division, and they funded or put aside, a substantial amount of money for the city to come in and cut all the Gamewells down and get rid of them. Now, policemen, being the enterprising sorts that they are, realize that a Gamewell that's been around for about 100 years or so is probably a collector's item. So when the special order or special memorandum came out that the city was going to remove all the Gamewells, I remember very distinctly officers coming in with saws and bolt cutters and all kinds of stuff, and that night, I don't think anybody got a call for service. Policemen were racing around collecting all the Gamewells. Some guys had in their trunks, because they come back with a bunch of Gamewells back of black and white, put it in their car. I don't think a single Gamewell was recovered by the city. They all went straight into collector's items or into guys' bars and so forth. So an original Gamewell, I don't know how you could distinguish it if there's a serial number, but those are scarcer than hen's teeth. LAPD Academy Store for a while sold replicas, but an original Gamewell that some officer got off the city in Los Angeles will be damn near impossible to get.